I think it's very important to do what you love to do. I would probably think about traveling back before Bitcoin. That would be a nice point in time. I would first sit back, watch and learn. It's good to listen to people.
Yeah,
with the experience.
Yeah, with the expertise and experience.
Yeah.
I think.
This is shit, and it should be different.
Hi all, welcome to Techie Wisdom. Thank you very much for listening us today. Today I have a guest who is my former colleague, my big friend, Maurice De Bijl. Welcome, Maurice.
Thanks for having me.
So I think let's start with a little bit like icebreaker and things to show people who you are a little bit more. I will start with strange maybe questions, but I think they will be
very curious.
pretty interesting to ask. Normally, I think when people ask me about you, I already have some traits of you that I want to share, and then you
are you sure
let
you want
me
to
know,
share it with the whole world?
Yeah, let's see. So the first thoughts about you is smile and positive, very smart, sharp humor. That's an interesting one. Loves product that look great. Loves do-it-yourself stuff. 3D printing. Maybe we can talk about this later on. Yeah. Loves racing cars and loves gaming. Did I miss something? How do you think?
No, I think it was spot on. It's really nice that you mentioned loves to laugh or humor. You said something about that.
Yeah, sharp humor.
Sharp humor, because my wife is working at ASML, and she found out that an old colleague of mine is also working there. So she reached out, had a cup of coffee with her, and that colleague said the same thing about my humor. So it's really nice to hear that, because I'm not always aware of that. But yeah, really nice to hear that kind of things back.
It puts a little bit pressure on you, I think, because now you have to put some jokes probably around the way.
No, but you know what? I like to make fun. I think it's very important to do what you love to do, and to have fun with it. If you don't do what you love to do, then I think you have to look around you and do something else. I think that's what I've learned, maybe, or maybe I'm just like that.
Another thing I want to ask, if you could time travel to any time and to any place, what would you pick up and what would you do there?
Oh, if you asked me that as a child, I would say I would travel to the future, because I'm always anxious to know what is going to happen. At least like as a child I was.
Far future or not that far?
If you are a child, and everything is far future, right? So then I would probably travel in time like 5 or 10 years ahead to see all the technology, what is alive then. So after the year 2000, for example. If you ask me now, I would probably think about traveling back before Bitcoin. That would be a nice point in time. No, I don't think I want to travel back. And most of it is the reason that I can almost not even think about how we were used to live without the internet, for example. I just cannot completely remember how I got my information. Was it always going to the library, read books? Was it talking about people with the same interests, the same hobbies? Of course, there were bulletin board systems that you can dial in and get your information. But if you see how easy it is to get information, I don't want to trade that in to something in the past. So
it sounds like you really love technology, because that helps you now to consume the information much faster.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship, I think. Yeah, I really love technology, but I'm also I'm also a bit afraid of all the things that are possible and what we are going to do with it.
And what do you think about the future, let's say in 1,000 years or 2,000 or 5,000 years? Do you have any imagination on what it's going to be?
No.
And do you want to go there, for example?
No, I really don't want to go there, because that's too far in time. I think the moment you arrive there, you're so detached from from society as it is then, that you are a complete stranger. If our grandparents, or at least the grandparents of my generation, would come to this era, they already saw so much change. They saw the invention of the radio, of the television. They maybe also saw the internet age. If they would travel so far ahead, they are completely detached from society, I think. I see a big change in a big change. You see AI, ChatGPT evolving, machine learning, which is very interesting from a technical perspective. Is also very interesting from a social aspect, and it's very scary because of all the possibilities. But to be honest, in the mid-80s, you also saw that robots were taking over some jobs, and there was also a social discussion about that. The robots are taking over all our jobs.
Yeah.
But you will then see a shift in jobs, in profession. You need people to program those robots, to make them, to design them, and I think that's also with AI.
How you would describe your ideal weekend gateway?
My weekend?
Yeah.
I really like to do nerd stuff. So I'm more of a software guy than a hardware guy. But as a hobby, I also like to tinker around with hardware stuff, projects, simple things. 3D printing, you already touched that. I'm an engineer, right? I really like to create things, and if it's for hobby or profession, and of course, doing stuff with the family. But
does your family, does some member of your family shares these hobbies as you, or
nothing? No, that's. I have 3 kids, but I when they were younger, I also tried to make them enthusiastically about programming. I did a course with them. 2 of them really found it nice at that moment, but it was not something that they picked up later.
Okay. Yeah, everybody has its own way, and at least if they would be happy, you would be happy as the father too, I think. Okay, let's then dive a little bit into your career. I have a quote from your LinkedIn, which is born and raised software architect, designer, developer.
Yeah.
How do you identify yourself in the first place?
As I said, I'm a software guy, not totally. I'm also a hardware guy. I like technology. I think that's what an engineer defines, right? So I think I identify as an engineer. I like to solve things. I can be frustrated about things around me which are implemented in some way, daily things that you think, okay, why is it working like this? Can't it get better? Can I do it better? Can I make an invention for this? So I really identify as an engineer seeking or getting frustrated by how things are going, and that gives me energy to come up with solutions.
But you also mentioned that you're a designer, and I know your passion of thinking how to make the things really nice for the customer, and then you're always thinking about UX and also UI as well, so it looks good and it should be easier to use. What part of that thinking you have in your maybe day-to-day job or day-to-day life? Is it a big part, or it's still?
Yeah, it's a big part. It's a big part. I was born and raised in a technical way, right? In my generation, when you had computers, they were this with the green fluorescent screens with a blinking cursor, and that got me intrigued into what can this thing do, right? And then I think a lot of people in my generation had that. They were triggered by this blinking green cursor. So software was always a technical thing, always. And you also see that with old Windows versions. This whole UX didn't exist, right? It was software doing stuff, and you could use it to make your life easier, but you had to be technical to do it or follow a course, that kind of stuff. And later in my life, I saw, partly convinced by Steve Jobs and Apple, you don't need to make software technical. You can adjust software to users instead of the other way around. Let the user adjust to the software. And that's a thing that I try to apply. If you ask me, are you a real UX UI designer? No. But it's with red wine. When I drink red wine, I know if it tastes good or not, right?
Yeah.
I'm not one who can really say, oh, this is why I like it, this, right? Yeah. But if someone offers me a wine and tells me about it and I taste it, then I know if it tastes good. There are people which are real UX UI designers which are really good. They are the master chefs, right? They come with a user experience or UI design that addresses all the problems. I am the one who can appreciate that and can apply it to products I implement.
If you need to pick up 2 or 3 best projects or best products that you've been working with as a software guy, what would you pick up, and what are those products, and why do you pick up exactly them?
Yeah, I worked on a couple of nice products, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were a success.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
One that really was really nice to work on was an e-reader. It was in the time that the iPad was not there yet. I worked on different parts, mostly also the UI part, also stuff underneath it. But it was really nice because it's a small device, really strict in CPU and memory and that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a challenge to do. It didn't become a success because the iPad came out and there was no reason this device with an e-ink screen in black and white with slow refresh rate would be a success. I also worked on a big machine that places components on the PCBs, those boards, the electronic boards. A massive machine. That had complete different challenges, completely different branch. It's the Megatronics branch. It was also really nice to work on.
And last 10 years or even more, you focusing more on the iOS development, right?
So
for the apps and
yeah, true. When I was working on that e-reader in that time span, I was also more and more intrigued with the user experience part. And then I was thinking, okay, I really want to do more about it, with it, because at that time I was more in the embedded software engineering, and I want to be also more creative with user experience, UI design, that kind of stuff. There's a nice story. At that time, I really didn't like Apple, the brand Apple, the company Apple.
Interesting.
It didn't resonate with me. And I went to a birthday of a friend of mine, and he bought an iPhone 3GS, and he was happy with it. And he showed it to me. I have the newest iPhone 3GS. It's awesome. And I was really like, give it to me. And of course, he gave it to me because I'm the technical guy. So I needed to take a look because he needed some confirmation. Or I don't know why. But it was really funny. So from that moment, I was really like, what Apple has made now. I'm not convinced. That was my prejudice already. And from that moment on, I touched it. I worked with it. I knew intuitively how to do that. Yeah, you can test it with small kids. You can give it to someone of 2 years old, and he already knows how to use an iPad. I was 2 years old at that moment. I used it, figuratively speaking. I used it, and I was from that moment convinced about the multi-touch because they were the first to implement it at such scale, and it worked. That I thought, okay, I want to do something with UX UI. This is the future. And then I bought an iPhone, I bought a MacBook, and I learned myself a new language, Objective-C, new platform, iOS. And at that moment I picked. I was looking around. What should I make? I want to make something to just learn from it. And then I looked around, and then I saw a camera. A Foscam camera that I just bought, a Chinese IP camera, network camera. And I started making an app for that. And in 40 hours, I had my first app. I had one competitor. And my only goal was, let's make it a little bit better than that one. I have the same thing for securing your house, for example. If you have a better lock than your neighbors, just slightly better lock than your neighbors, then burglars won't come for your house, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a slightly better features in your app than your competitor, then they will buy your app. And that worked. And then I even was charging quite some more than my competitor. And I called it the Foscam Surveillance Pro, the word pro behind it. And that worked. People were buying my app. There was really nice period in my life.
So you have this entrepreneurial skills, let's say, or desire to do things yourself. But although you also was working for the last 5-6 years for the company called Close, that's where we get acquainted with each other, because we worked 4 years together there. And in that company, you actually took a lot of new roles to you, which is, of course, iOS lead. You were the lead of the iOS team. That's logical to you. That's natural. Yeah. But also you became the lead of the DevOps team and the lead of the QA team. And I know that you're enjoying working with the people and building the teams. How you could really combine all of that at one position? And was it overwhelming for you, or it was pretty good and feels logical?
I grew into it. I heard of Close via an old colleague of mine. And I was intrigued by it because it was a startup. I really like to be there from the beginning, from a product, setting it up. So new product development is really what suits me. And I had the opportunity to lead a team, to build a team. And in my life, during my own project, during my Foscam surveillance, I hired people. And to be honest, that was often a hit and miss. So I had some experiences there where I just hired the wrong people. So I misjudged people. I hired someone purely on his technical skills, but then it was cultural, not a fit, but also the other way around.
But so it helps you to learn, probably, right? Like how to do then the better hiring.
So I wanted to learn that. How do you build a team? How do you find the right people? And I got the opportunity at Close. So that's why I opted for it, to go back to the payroll and go into that adventure.
Cool. So I think now it's a good moment to step into the next part of the conversation, which would be like a mock interview that I want to do with you.
Cool.
Let's say I'm hiring you like as an iOS lead or the iOS department manager or something like that, and I have some questions that I think people might ask also in the different interviews. Hopefully it will help some others to come up with the similar ideas in their interviews. What do you like and what you don't like in the manager role?
I needed quite some adjustment time for the role of team lead, because I also wanted to do the things myself, because I'm a technical guy. I know how to do these things, creating an app. So in the beginning, it was very difficult for me to leave the work to others, because mainly in the beginning, when those new people on board, and there were good people, that they were not all juniors, there were mediums and really good seniors also that we hired, but they didn't have the domain knowledge yet. And at that moment, I sometimes had the idea, okay, if I do it myself, it will be done quicker, and then I know what I have in the end. That I didn't like, because I didn't like to leave it to others at that first moment. That was very difficult for me to do. Later, I learned that, because if you are proven that the team delivers, why should you be the one to check up on them over and over again? But I'm sometimes also too black and white in that, because at that moment I thought, okay, the team can do it. I will really leave it to the team. And that also caused some surprises later on, because later on we had to downscale because of financial problems, the corona situation. And at that time, all the development work was coming back to me again, and I had to pick it up again, which at that moment I didn't find a problem to do, because I really liked doing that stuff. But the difficult thing about that was I left it completely over to the team that was not aware of all the details. And then, you can find out some ways of some things along the way. And it doesn't mean that it was necessarily bad what was delivered of bad quality. Sometimes there were even genius things delivered, but I had to pick it up again, and I had to understand what was being implemented, in what way, and what thought was behind it. And then I was really thinking, oh man, this is genius. But it took me days and days to understand it. So it has to be something in the middle. You have to leave things to the team. You don't have to check on every detail on it, but you need to be kept in the loop. And that's something I learned. And I found that process difficult.
And how do you find then this balance? I mean, in which percentage maybe you think you should be involved into the, let's say, technical discussion if you are leading the team? Should you present in all the technical meetings or not really? Or like you said, you should really leave it to the team and then once in a while just maybe check something with them? Where is this balance?
I cannot give it a number like 40 to 42%. I don't know. No, but it's in the decision making. Of course, you need to be there. You need to be aware. Architectural problems, of course, you need to be completely aware. The real implementation, you can leave it to the team, but you need to be at least aware in what way it's implemented, so that when you need to find the next one to work on it, you know what kind of skills you're looking for, what kind of technology is being used to implement it, to do that.
So you're a manager, you're lead of the team, and for example, in your team you have, like you said, genius guys who definitely are much better than you into the technical architecture and things like that. Is it a problem for you to work with those guys where their competence is way higher than you? Or it's pretty easy for you because you have to manage them somehow. You have to make sure that they are happy doing what they do. And classically, as a manager, they might see, let's say, a threat in you if you will be stepping up too much into what they are doing and maybe questioning that and pushing your opinions just because you're a manager. Have you been in this situation yourself?
If you get older, then you will find your limits. If you're 20, you think you know everything, you can do everything, right?
Yeah.
If you're 30, then you find out that you don't know everything. And if you're 40, you know exactly what you don't know. And the part that you don't know is bigger than the part you know. When you have a younger team, they are enthusiastically, they found out something in the weekend because they followed the tutorial. They come Monday after stand-up with something, or maybe even during the stand-up, and they are enthusiastically about something they want to apply. Yeah, that's the moment I also get enthusiastically about it. If your team is bringing the energy, that's amazing. That's what makes the difference when you are working on a product.
I understand what you're saying about enthusiasm and things like that, especially when the team generates it on themselves. But you are, as a manager, responsible for the business part, right? Yeah. So you are managing the deadlines and the scope and the backlog and everything. And then, of course, it's good that your guys brings up a lot of ideas, but how to handle such situations in a way that, because business also wants to do their own things, and we are doing this to make business grow, right? And on the other hand, you want to make those people still happy by letting them do this kind of stuff. How to mix this all together to make sure it's really working well for both sides?
Yeah, that's always the question, right? I think what I find important is to work in an agile Scrum-like way, where the team is leading, not in the things completely in the things they work on, but at least they are leading in what they can pick up. So all the requirements and everything is coming top down. These are the requests. It's my job to translate that to the team, together with the team. This is what we have. What is the best solution for it? How can we pick this up? And what can we pick this up? And at the other end, at the stakeholder side, it's my job to convey that information back. So this is what we can do for the coming sprint or sprints. This is what you can expect. What I've seen in the past is that there sometimes is a culture of negotiating, that you say, okay, as a team, you say, okay, this is what we can do, and then the stakeholders start to negotiate. No, can't you do it for less? And that's something where you need to convince the stakeholders, or even educate stakeholders. And that's not how it works. I've seen some comic on the internet, several flavors of it. Can you draw the Mona Lisa for me? You can paint it, but that costs a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. And there are also, in the most simple way, with a pencil, where a 5-year-old draws it in 5 minutes. You cannot negotiate on something a team can deliver. They give commitment for the tasks that they can do. I understand that for stakeholders it's difficult, for example, or mostly in the beginning of a project. But when can we expect what? But if you have done 3, 4, 5 sprints or iterations, then the stakeholder knows what to expect. And then it's my job also to help a stakeholder with that, to make predictions about it.
Talking about the stakeholders, have you had an experience in the past where you really struggled to communicate with the stakeholders? Like it was really difficult conversation always, and then they push, I don't know, too many features or too narrow deadlines for you, and you always have to defend it. And if you have any success example in that sense, that at the beginning you struggled and then you did something and then suddenly it started to work well.
The most struggles are always around priorities. I've seen that, I think, in most companies. There will be a point that the team asks, what do we need to work on? We can work on this or this. We cannot do it together because we don't have the means to do it. A priority is first this one, first that one, and then that one. It's very simple, right? If first this, then that, then one.
Yeah, sequential.
Sequential, but it never is, or at least what I've seen, it's always, but this is important, but this is also very important. Which one is most important?
Next question I have is about delegation. Have you had situations where you really struggle as a manager because you have to do a lot of things, right? Like you have to check, like I said, the backlog, and then set the priorities and do the refinements and check maybe the quality of the code and talk to people, doing the one-to-one session with them. So you really have a lot of different activities during the day. And then you realize like I don't have enough time to do all of this. And did you have any examples where you really see like, okay, this part of the job I can delegate to my teammate and that one to another teammate? And maybe example where you failed to do that. So maybe you just said, okay, can you do this without maybe explaining, and then the result was really different from what you expect. And maybe some good example when you really delegated properly and you were happy with the results.
When I started with one side quest now. When I started working for this big technology company in Eindhoven, I was really junior. I was in 2000. I came on board and I asked, I needed to develop in C++. And I asked where their coding guidelines were. And my team leader at that moment looked at me, was thinking, looked at me again and said, okay, you are owner of the coding guidelines, make them for us.
Okay.
And that's also what I want to say about the startup. When you have good professional people, you don't need to delegate. Because for DevOps, for example, we hired someone, and it took quite some while to find someone really fitting for that job. But this guy was really into it. He was also really looking for a new challenge. And if you have professional people coming on board of your company that are really taking ownership, then you don't have to delegate. Maybe I was just lucky with that. I don't know. But it was never a worry for me that I need to explain things and really delegate things to this person, because it was the other way around. He was so professional that he came back to me. Okay, I see this, this, and this. Other people are asking this from me and this. What do you think I should do? I think I can do this and this and this way and that way. So it was really the other way around, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, that sounds good, of course, if you find somebody who really fits immediately and take over basically all the job that you do in a way that you don't even need to explain.
Yeah. And of course, there are situations where people are working on the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
But that's why you have to have this agile process and the retrospective. And that's the moment you can also steer someone. Sometimes you have to do it yourself, but most of the times the team already steers in the right direction.
So indeed, I really see that you're a big fan of the Agile and Scrum teams, that they have to be pretty independent in what the decision they make.
Yeah.
Do you think that the lead in that team even needed? Maybe ideal situation that there is no even a lead there, just the team somehow manages itself?
I think the translation from both sides is needed. I think it's also needed that there always should be a technical team lead. I've seen in the past that team leads were non-technical. Mm-hmm. They also did not know everything about the product or everything about the possibilities. Mm-hmm. I think for a team lead talking to stakeholders, it's important to translate to the stakeholders what is possible, because they have ideas on what to achieve with a product, what to implement, what they need. Sometimes they not even have the complete overview of what they need and what is possible, and then you can educate them. Like this saying, I'm not sure if it's an urban legend or not, that Ford, or the Ford company, said, if you ask people what they want, they ask for a faster horse. Mm-hmm. So I need to translate to the stakeholders what is possible technically. Mm-hmm. And the other way around, I need to translate the requirements coming from the stakeholders together with the team into something technical and some technical solution.
So you see more a leading position in this case, like a bridge between the business and the team, and not really doing too much with the team per se, but more like helping them to guide and to go to the
but now I'm thinking of it. What's also important is sometimes it's important to assess the people in your team, because sometimes you misjudge people when hiring them, and they can have a bad effect on the team. Maybe they're not motivated enough, and that can drag the team down, or at least cause some friction. If your colleagues see that you are not doing all the effort they do, that gives some friction.
So and then people management is also still very important.
Yeah, people management is very important. Yeah, if you have a perfect team and everything is working together, you as a team lead, you don't have to do much. Yeah. But sometimes you need to be harsh and you need to have a bad news conversation and let someone go. Yeah, that's harsh, but for the better good of the team.
Interesting question. How you would describe your best day at work? So only one day. What are the feelings at the end of the day you should feel to say, oh man, that was really ideal day?
That would be a day with not too many meetings, because sometimes there can be when you're following Agile or Scrum and really follow the process, it sometimes can take a lot of a big cut out of your day. Most perfect days are that you come to work, you know there is a problem, a technical problem you want to solve. You have a technical meeting around it, and the team comes with a perfect solution. That the puzzle. That you see the puzzle evolving into a solution. I really like that, these kind of days.
Okay. And then the opposite one, like the worst day for you.
That's when the puzzle falls from the table
and
in
then
pieces.
20 meetings.
And then you think about, why didn't we think of it earlier? Why didn't I see this? Those things happened.
Have you also maybe had any example where you coached or mentor the teammate and help them to raise their level, for example, from medium to senior? If you have them, maybe share how you did that with some plan, or like through what activities normally you can help that person to get better. I think that would be really valuable thoughts to everybody who listening to us.
Yeah, I have one example of someone coming on board as a tester who wasn't a tester, but it was someone with quite some technical skills, very eager to learn, having no domain knowledge whatsoever. But I gave that person the trust into by hiring him, by giving the responsibilities as a tester, because we didn't have a QA team at that moment. I hired him, and he never became a real tester, so to say. So not one that was really educated as a quality assurance officer or something like that. But he had the technical skills to gather all the domain knowledge, in a sense that he, in the end, was the one you are going to ask, how does this work in our product? Because what you develop and what the possibilities are, that's not always the same. As a developer and as a team, you can develop something, but when creative people are using a product, they use it in so many different ways that you cannot predict.
And what kind of support you gave to him? Like, what really helps to achieve that?
The moment he ran into problems, didn't know how to approach things, just listen. During listening, people already find their own solutions often. So that's the rubber ducking aspect of it. You just learn, you just listen, and when they are saying it, they already come with maybe multiple solutions. Then you talk about those solutions with the pros and the cons, and then they come with a solution where they are completely behind it because they came with it, right? I'm just confirming it. So that also works in picking it up. If I would say to someone, if I were you, I would do it like this and this and this. I also see it with my kids. They're now in the 17, 18, 19 years old. You can give tips. They're not being picked up.
Yeah.
But if someone comes with their own tips and you only add a value to it, that's a good idea, and you don't talk about the less good idea, they take ownership. And that's what I see with people in my project also.
That's very well said. I think it's also very important as part of one-to-one meeting to let them talk, right? Rather than you talk and you are giving them feedback, because that's indeed very powerful thing, just being able to listen. And guys, by the way, I have a video about one-to-one meetings where I have actually the same idea that you have to listen 80%, maybe 90% of the meeting, and then just 10% talking, and also help your people to find the solution themselves and not immediately start saying like, oh, let's do this and this and this. So I think that's a very valuable addition indeed. So yeah, that's a good example. And now I have like a few scenarios, like let's imagine some scenario happening in the team and how you would then approach this situation. One of the things that I saw in my experience as well, that if you have really good team with a few senior guys, maybe 2, 3 or 4 guys, and then you have some technical discussion, and then maybe the discussion about what technology to pick up or what tools to use or what code style guide we have to pick up. And then, for example, the minds are split into two camps, let's say. So 2 guys advocating one solution and 2 another guys completely different solution. How you as the lead would facilitate that kind of discussion into productive one, and to make sure that you actually end up in the something that everybody more or less agrees.
I would first sit back, watch and learn, because it's fun to see how it evolves and how the reasoning goes about those things. When in the end I see, okay, there is a standoff, like 50-50.
Coming back in the loop.
Okay. If there's time and money, the best thing to do is to give people the time to collect more arguments, more reasoning behind it, to maybe time box things, come with a prototype. Most of the time you don't have that time. You don't have that money lying on the shelf to do that. I would at least communicate, okay, sometimes there are multiple possibilities. It's not black and white. This one is better or that one is better. Sometimes you need to pick someone because some solution because you don't have the time to investigate everything, and maybe that decision is 100% fit, and later you find out that the decision you made is 90% fit. Yeah, then it would be retrospectively better to go for that other one. But you already made that decision. You're not going to do it over and over again. So what I find most important is to discuss with the team beforehand. Okay, sometimes there are multiple solutions. We don't know the complete implications beforehand. Whatever we do, we need to have the commitment of the whole team. Yeah. And we don't want to have "I told you so" sayers afterwards, because that's negative energy. It's very easy to cross your arms and don't agree with this, that kind of stuff. Everybody, the whole team needs to give a commitment. And sometimes it's something that you don't totally agree with it, but maybe you can agree with it at 80%.
That's an example when the team can decide, but sometimes it's more like a managers who decides what solution we have to go to, and then you have just to convey this information to the team as it's already done. Any maybe tips or advices how to do that properly? Because of course the team would feel like nobody even asked us to do. They just
that's a similar. It's a similar problem. I think when an architect does that without consulting the team, I think that's a bad habit. There cannot be anyone having all the knowledge, right? Of course, an architect knows what he is designing, of course, but always be sure the team is in the process. Shop there for the right information. Do also a little bit of expectation management as an architect. So, okay, I'm thinking about this, but it's not decided yet. Ask for input from the team, discuss it, and then the team gets warm for it or not. Another example can be if, and those are more awkward, if you get a top-down decision from about a process or a method or a piece of software tooling for developers. I have seen that in the past, because somewhere high in the hierarchy, someone decides we are going to use Subversion again, because it's cheap. It's very arrogant to do that way, because then you say, okay, then you say to a car mechanics, you can repair cars, but instead of using this tool, you need to use a hammer always to do this. It doesn't work like that. So I think it's also a little bit of education in the company itself. Before you do that, consult the team in the same way as an architect. Consult the team. If you don't consult the team, don't ask for the input and try to do that.
Do it yourself.
With every change there will be friction, even good changes. People are used to a certain way of working. If you change the process, there will be friction. If you change the tooling, the development tools, there will be friction, even though it's a good change.
So if I get you right, you're basically saying that for any of this change, the only way is to communicate, to keep talking to people, to keep sharing,
keep them in the process. Even
when they're not agree with this, so you still have to talk and see how you can convince them, at least for a while.
But what I've seen in the past, that was for really big companies. I've saw decisions being made. For example, a decision about using a framework to connect logging in the app, the UI and everything. And it was a framework that could do everything. And the team was not behind it. For good reasons. Of course, every team thinks they can make it themselves better than what you buy from others, but they had some good reasons not to like it, and in the end, it was abandoned because what was being sold was really a marketing thing. If you buy something that's a solution for everything, then you need to start asking questions. Maybe it's too generic for our product. And it was not offering anything that was really useful. It took 3 years, and then they decided not to use it anymore. So it's good to listen to people.
Yeah,
with the experience.
Yeah, with the expertise and experience, I think that's
the expertise. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that part. I think that was pretty good answers and pretty good conversation. So hopefully you guys can take something out of that. Now let's move on to the last part of the conversation, which would be some funny stories maybe to share and some quick questions to ask. Have you ever had like a face palm feeling of the bug that you maybe was trying to fix like 3 days, and then you realized, man, I don't know, the mode of the program was set to debug or whatever, and because of that you were having this bug? Have you like, oh shit, how can I did it, and so on? Did you have that?
So long ago, longer than I wish. But no, I was really a junior at that time. I was working at that machine I was talking about for placing components on PCBs, they call it, on those electronics boards. And I needed to make some logging tool, some tool that showed some status of some hardware, and also logging. And then I found out that after almost a day, the whole thing crashed. Yeah, it was just gone. I found quite soon already, and it was not taking too much time, but quite early already. Okay, this is a memory leak. But yeah, I didn't like memory leak, because if you have a crash, you would just see, okay, it crashed because of this, and then you can travel back or go step back and to find out where it crashes. But it was a memory leak for some reason. And I think I spent, I don't know in my recollection how much days, but it was really days. Yeah, I spent on it, trying to find it. What is causing the memory leak? I'm a bit ashamed of saying this, but then I found out, okay, I am logging to some UI element, and I'm only adding lines of logging. I'm never clearing them. Okay. It was not a round robin buffer or whatever. It was just filling. Yeah. Then it was an easy fix to like leave all the old logging out. But I was convinced it was a memory leak. Basically, it was a memory leak, but it was one. Okay, a good story. So make sure, guys, you clean up the logs from time to time at least. It was long ago, in my defense. Yeah. Okay, now I have like quick questions, and I'm gonna ask like a short question, and you can answer not necessarily short, so you can decide whatever. So, early bird or night owl? I'm a diesel engine, so I need to start up. I work best when it's getting later and later, and if there is some stress moment. For example, if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. And there is something going on, and I think, okay, we need to assemble the whole team because this is really shit hitting the fan. That's the moment I really start going. So stress actually drives you a bit, right? I really don't want it every day, but it helps me getting focus and getting focused on something. But I'm not an early bird. My wife says that from time to time. Yeah. Okay. Question with the star: Android or iOS? iOS. Why? I'm not saying Android is bad or whatever, or how do you say that, the lesser platform. I really appreciate Android. I also did my own Android and Java development. What I like about Android is you're not restricted. Everything is possible. Yeah. The downside from Apple and iOS is that you can only do what Apple allows you to do. On the other hand, Apple makes it as convenient for the developer as possible. So the whole philosophy of user experience and make it easy for the user is also for the developer. They make it easy for you. But as I said, the downside is that you cannot do everything you want. Yeah. But I really like. Maybe I'm lazy that I like easy things. Yeah. Okay. Cats or dogs? Dogs, definitely. Do you want to know why? You can expand. I really like dogs seeing you as a member of the family. They are a member of the family, right?
Yeah.
When you hear stories about this old guy going to the hospital, dying there, and this dog coming every day to the front of the hospital, seeing if his owner is coming back. That really touches me. That's really like this
synergy.
Yeah, this band you can have.
Yeah.
This link you can have with a dog. I'm not a cat person because if you stop feeding a cat, the cat goes away, right?
Yeah.
A dog dies, the cat goes away. A cat is not member. A cat is your boss.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah, fine. Beach vacation or mountain gateway?
Mountain. Yeah. I like the mountains. I'm not in favor of very hot days at the beach. I like the sea, but more on a windy day in autumn. But in a mountain, you can look far ahead. You can walk for a long day. You don't know what is at the other side of the mountain. I really like that.
Buy a kitchen from IKEA or build it yourself from scratch?
Buying from IKEA, I have to say, because
and install it from scratch yourself.
Install it from scratch myself. Yeah. That's what I did 2 times.
So something in the middle.
Something in the middle. Yeah.
What's your attitude to the open source, and do you contribute yourself to some project?
Yeah, I do contribute. I really appreciate open source.
Why?
Having said that, it's a love-hate relationship. I appreciate open source. I appreciate sharing. So in the 90s, you already had this public domain wave where people shared things and other people start picking it up. It later went into this whole open source community. I really appreciate it from a technical view because of security. If it's open, it can be audited. Smarter people than you can think about it, can fix things, can make it more secure, can make it better. The hate part in the relationship is because it's open source. People can add features to it, but they only add the features they want. Yeah, that's what I don't like. There is no governance.
Yeah.
And I think at some point you need to have someone saying, okay, this is not what we're going to do. It needs to adhere to some standards, some vision. A vision is really needed. And that's what I'm missing in open source sometimes.
Okay. So if you're coding, how many times per day do you go to Stack Overflow?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. Yeah, to be honest. I also found if it's not on Stack Overflow, that's a moment to reconsider. No, it could be that you do something completely wrong and it's very, very simple. Or it could be that you are pioneering. But most of the times I found you were misunderstanding the problem. You were thinking in a too difficult way. You have to step back from the problem and do some rubber ducking because this is not going anywhere.
Backend development or mobile apps?
Yeah, for me it's mobile apps.
And have you ever considered to do the backend?
Yeah, I also did it for my Voskamp Surveillance app. I also made a backend to store camera models and that kind of stuff. Not really user data because I want at that time already I didn't want to, because of privacy concerns, store users specific data on it because it can also fire back, right? Oh, you are storing my data on your service, and I really didn't want to do that. But I did a fair part of backend development. I prefer front-end apps because of the user experience part.
Yeah, okay. And last quick question, best piece of advice you have received in your tech career?
I'm not sure if it was a real advice or it was something that I learned along the way. What I said in the beginning is that you shouldn't change. You should have fun doing it. If you don't like what you do, don't do it, because then it costs negative energy. And I think the best advice I can give someone is reflect if it gives you energy. Then you are on the right track. If it doesn't give you energy, then you should change something in your habits. And there are, of course, periods in your life that you don't get the energy from it because you are facing a problem that needs to be fixed. But after that, there should be a moment that the pieces of the puzzle fall correctly. Yeah. And then that's the moment you should earn back all that energy that you were lacking before. Sometimes it needs to give some pain first to really appreciate what you achieved later.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in my opinion, mountains, that's a very good example for it, because if you hike in the mountains, let's say for 10 hours a day, you actually struggle the whole day. Yes, it's cool, the scene is great, but around the lunchtime, your legs already are tiring, but you still want to go to the end. And then once you reached out your next place, let's say, where you have dinner, I think that's when you really appreciate all your struggles before, because then it has a value. Because if you don't struggle, right, you basically don't have any fun after that. That's how I also see.
They say that the joy is in a journey, and I also really appreciate that philosophy, and I'll also try to follow that. Sometimes the journey is not fun, but the fun will be later, and you will have more fun afterwards when things go wrong beforehand, and you can fix it and then appreciate that moment.
Yeah, true. And about the tips and advice, so we already talked about your best piece of advice that you got, and maybe you can give some tips from the time management perspective for the guys that are listening to us, like maybe time management hacks that you do, how to make sure that within the 8 hours you are staying as productive as you possibly can.
I'm using the Pomodoro approach. I've sometimes difficulties focusing because there's so much to do, and then you want to give some attention to this and some attention to that and some attention to that, and at the end of the day you at least don't have the feeling you achieved something. Maybe you did achieve something, but you don't have that feeling. Using the Pomodoro approach, like 25 minutes of really focusing on one problem, and then 5 minutes of a small break, getting coffee or doing something else, that really helps me. And then you can make big steps in little time.
You're using that during the day, or it's more like half of the day you're using Pomodoro?
No, I'm using that during the day at moments I need it. So sometimes you are in this flow because you're working on this new feature, you're thinking about this new design. Then you don't need that. But it's the moments that a lot of things are going on simultaneously. Of course, you need to decide on what to work on. Really force yourself to work on that.
Okay.
Another tip that I use is small tasks, like 1-2 minute tasks. You should do immediately. So if you get a mail, replying to that mail only takes 1 or 2 minutes. Do it, because it takes more energy to keep in mind, I still have to do that. And that is also distracting from your other work, and it gives it doesn't give the feeling of fulfillment. So it still takes part of your brain while you need it for other things to do.
I recall that as well. I also have the same attitude, like the small things better to do right away, because it just frees up your mind and you just stop thinking about that, and you can focus more on other things. Cool. And then talking about the book, because I very like the approach that you actually in general read books from your profession, professional books, and maybe you have one for all of us that also maybe influenced you the most from the professional point of view.
The one that influenced me the most is the biography of Steve Jobs. I started reading, and when you start reading, you cannot stop. And I really like those books. And what I like about it, Steve Jobs was not always this gentle person, right? So as to characterize him, I'm not always fan of him and the way he does things. But sometimes you need someone like that. You need someone saying, maybe not saying like this is shit and it should be different, but you need someone in the tree, in the hierarchy, that makes those decisions. That has the how do you say that? The authority to do that. And what I like about the book is that he also sees that you need creative people, and you need to have technical people, and you need to bring them together, to really create magic, really create magical products. And I really appreciate that from the book. And if you read it, you think, okay, if you could mimic that, or at least a part, that's really nice to see.
Okay. Happening. Thanks for that. I haven't read that one. I already have a lot of times thinking about that's things I have to still read. So maybe your advice would push me to find.
I can really recommend this book. It really changed my way of thinking about software in general.
Okay.
What I said in the beginning, software doesn't have to be technical, but to realize that, I really needed to read that book to understand that. Why should we adapt to software? Software is just like every invention. It's to make our lives easier, to make it more efficient, to help us. It's not to make the world more technical. And that was, for me, it was a complete change, because I was the opposite, because I am a technical guy. I like technical things, but software should help you.
I think it's a great final words for our podcast today. So if you're still listening, guys, thank you very much, and subscribe to our channel and leave the comments. Let us know what do you think. And Maurice, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you, Anton.
It was really good, I think, so I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.